Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you've had a great day. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be painting Harley Quinn for you guys, so I hope you enjoy that video. A lot of fun doing that. I did a little bit different highlighting there. A quick announcement before we get into that is just real quick. And August 1st through 4th is Gen Con for 2019, and I'm really hoping that I can actually go this year. So if you want to be a part of that, if you want to help where you can actually, meet me and, see some of the content that I'm going to be covering, I'm going to be doing a whole video on that and how you can help make that a reality so that I can actually, even like play some games with some of you guys that are down there and, show you videos of every single day and, interviews and playthroughs and prototypes and all sorts of fun stuff. But anyway, that video will be another time. This one is just to kind of get that idea floating that's something I'm trying to do, and that'll be coming up on the channel. Before that, though, there's going to be tons of like Batman stuff. Of course, that's going to be on my Patreon before it gets to you guys here on YouTube. But I'm excited about that because there's some black lining stuff I'm doing, and it'll be really cool. Either way, this is for Harley Quinn, so let's get right to it. Alright, first thing first. I told you how I had a really bad regiment brush and I was just going to replace it. Well, here you go. The nice thing about the Most Wanted brush set, by the way, link in the description below, as the last time, because I love these brushes, is they're really cheap. They come in like a 3-pack, and so I get this regiment brush. Look, I'm just going to toss that other one out. Maybe, actually, I've never thrown away a brush. I always keep them in case like I need a bad brush for like glue or something, but I'll toss it aside. I don't need that anymore. And actually, she's really tiny, so I'm actually going to use the detail brush. Now, this does not come with the Most Wanted brush set, but still link below, because look at that tip. It keeps see the belly and how much paint is in that belly with the tip still like that? That's awesome. It's great. I really like these brushes. They're synthetic, they take a beating, which apparently is something I do with my brushes. They're cheaper, so I don't have to worry about them, but they're a little bit more expensive, and therefore the quality's a little bit better, so they're not like super cheap and frustrating. So I'm never really having to fight the brush, and the moment I start to have to fight the brush, I just get a new one. Definitely probably the brushes I'm going to be sticking with for the foreseeable future. Starting out here, by the way, black gray. I'm not going to do pure black at all. There is the only pure black she's going to have is for her pupils. Otherwise, it's going to be this black gray. And actually, I'm going to do a little bit of a spin on it. I actually have some art from the comic I'm going to show later on to explain kind of why I'm going the way I am. But for now, we're just doing the classic checkerboard bodysuit that she has here. We can always, thank the animated series for Harley Quinn, and obviously how to follow up Joker with Harley Quinn. So really excited to do this, and it's a really easy paint job. It's not very hard. There's no hard parts to get to. You just kind of have to have a steady hand. That being said, between the red and the black, they both cover really well, the ones I'm using anyway, and so it's really easy to fix any mistakes you might have by painting over it. Dragon Red is for the red. This is probably my favorite, like, default red. So I have like a pure red, but in my opinion, it's a little bit, I don't know, maybe a little bit too light. This Dragon Red is like perfect. I really like this one. So using the Dragon Red as the other checkerboard, again, being careful. The worst part about this mini is just how small it is. She is pretty tiny. I've already almost finished painted another miniature, so I am coming to you a little bit from the future here, from what you've seen. If you do want to see the rest of that mini, you can head over to my Patreon, and they will have early access to my next Batman painting. And yeah, so anyway, she's a lot smaller than the other person I'm painting, which is kind of interesting, like scale wise. Like if you take the foot to foot and eye level to eye level, that just she's kind of short. I didn't know that. Maybe I guess she's shorter than the Joker, right? So maybe she's supposed to be short. I'm sure Monolith knew what they're doing here. Anyway, don't forget the boots and the gloves, by the way. So those alternate as well. But otherwise, it's separated by the kind of the white cuffs that she has here. Not a whole lot of colors used here, but more than you might think. Also, pay special attention to those things underneath the feet. We're going to be messing with those later. Next up we have pure white. That's just for her face. I'm not doing the flesh wash thing that I did on the Joker. I am going to be using a wash, but part of it's because she has a little bit of an open mouth, and I want to create some good shadow in there. And additionally, her paint just seems better than the Joker, at least how I envisioned it. So pure white here, and you know it covers a little bit better, which is nice too. We're not messing with like white gray or anything like that. She's got the little like pom-pom balls and like her jester hat thing, and then she's gonna have her little cufflinks. These take a while actually. In fact, it may be the longest I spent is doing this part. Just because they're so small. I've already painted all the way around it, and there's those rivets every single time that you just kind of have to be a little careful with. In fact, even here, see, a little bit on that glove. I'll touch it up off camera. I do that all the time. Don't ever think I'm perfect, because I'm not. Sometimes I keep it in the video, sometimes I don't. The little things like that I'm not going to. And then her, I don't know what you even call that. Notice I didn't paint her mask yet. I didn't paint it because you want to paint as deep and then paint outward. So the stuff on top of other things you're going to paint after you've already painted the thing below it, or underneath it, deeper into the miniature. And so her eye sockets there needed to be painted before I painted the mask. Otherwise it'd just be a mess. But I end up touching up both anyway. Gunmetal wall for her pistol. I'm going to paint it the same way I did the Joker. So if you've done that, then you know how to do this one. And in fact, it's a typical tactic I use on most any weapons or metal. Really of any kind. So, you know, just you get this kind of darker silver, you get a Nuln Oil wash, then you highlight it up and it should be good. So these are interesting. I couldn't even find an image that had this from the animated series, from the comics. I'm not sure what's going on here. I even looked at like the Kickstarter post that showed their version of the resin one that was painted. Much better than mine, obviously. I think that guy had a microscope and a single hair brush, but whatever. Anyway, my point is that I don't know what exactly they are. He seemed to paint it metal, and I'm going to go with that, assuming they're kind of like springs or something silly or funny like that. That's how I'm doing it anyway. So I'm using Nuln Oil on this. This is to get that recesses out. I'm going to cover most of it up here. What this is going to end up doing, because you're going to slightly see through it, is it's going to make it a slightly off-white for her kind of shoulder wrap thing. Cover the gun, get those recesses in. And then for the face, again, I really wanted it to outline the eye sockets, and then I also wanted it to seep into the mouth. As you can see there now, you can see in between her teeth. And now I'm going to highlight it back up. So I've already done the eyes. It was a little blurry because my hand's like right there. It's really hard to film and paint, by the way. Trust me, I actually paint a little bit better when I'm not filming, when I don't have like a camera in my face and I can get close to the mini. You know, my arms are always reached out. It's kind of difficult. And there's just a sliver here. Notice again, I'm using that detail brush. It's pretty much what I used for almost the entire miniature. It's got a great tip on it, and that's really what you want there. Is you don't want it loaded like really fat in the belly with paint, and then otherwise you just want to kind of barely, you know, kind of get around that mouth. For this, again, the side of the brush works great for that edge, and then you're going to want to get the edge on the top as well. Okay, yeah, so the eyes are what they are. You know, it's whatever. The problem here, and why sometimes I think we struggle with eyes, is we film it. No, that is part of the problem. But another part is there isn't really an eye definition here for her, and so the paint can go anywhere. And my black recently, for whatever reason, I shake it up, but it's been a little watery. I need to kind of work on that, or maybe get another black so it doesn't pool as much. Because the problem is if there's no mold for it to kind of latch onto, it just kind of goes wherever it is it wants to go. So black gray out again, because there are these like diamonds that she has on one side. She does not have red ones on the black part. I'm not sure why they didn't do that, but they're just on the red part. And so obviously I had to paint the red first. In hindsight, you should paint the red before the black gray. And so then you can just put the black gray on all at once, but whatever. For her lipstick, I wanted it to be slightly darker. I didn't want it to be bright red to match her suit. So burnt red is perfect for that. It's actually kind of like a pinkish purple, but a very deep color to it. A very lipstick kind of color, so I think it works out here. It's going to look a little rough. What you do is you come back with some white and kind of clean up the lines, and you should be good. But this is actually fairly well defined. So I was pretty happy with how this turned out. It makes her look a little crazy, but I think that's kind of fitting too anyway, right? I mean, she should look kind of crazy. Uniform gray out for the base. The base is going to be the exact same as Joker, and in fact the same for all of my minis. They're going to have pretty much matching bases here, unless there's something fancy going on. I should have done this before when I had the Nuln Oil out. Now, before I go and do that, notice how the black when it shines can turn blue. I wanted to kind of emulate that, but not quite as drastic as this, obviously. So you can see here in the shining part it's blue. So I've got the Drakkenhof Nightshade, and what this is going to do is make that black, or that black gray, just a hint of blue. Now it's going to look way bluer when it's wet. When it dries, it's just a smidge, just a little bit. Because it's a dark color, it's not going to shift a whole lot, but just enough to where my highlights, which I'm also going to have some blue in, are a little bit more believable. If I didn't do this, if I just did a Nuln Oil wash and then put a little bit of blue in my highlight, I think it would clash a bit too much. So this is kind of my attempt to blend it. In fact, unlike the Joker, I'm going to blend a little bit more here. It's still going to be drastic. It's still going to be cartoon-like, but it is going to be a little bit blended, just enough for my own personal preference here. Carroburg Crimson out. This is the red wash by Citadel. I've always said red wash, but as you can see, it's not actually red. It's kind of like a plum, like a pink purple. I don't know, whatever. I don't know my colors. It's not as red as I would think. But that's the color, so that's what it is, and it shows up really well. Again, she doesn't really have a lot of muscle definition. It's just more, smooth curves everywhere, but it still pools where it needs to be, and it's still definitely a benefit to do this. And additionally, it'll just kind of make everything uniform in case there's maybe something that didn't quite match perfectly. All right, now we got the Nuln Oil out again. Yeah, I know, again, but it's whatever. Okay, so we're just going to throw it on the base. Again, you should do that. I need to start painting the base like the first thing. I need to get the uniform gray out and paint the base and be done with it. I don't know why I'm not doing that yet. I guess I'm excited to paint the mini, right? I don't want to paint the base. I want to paint the mini. Okay, so here's kind of that blending. This is not as bright as it will be. It will actually be brighter. This is just a little bit of white in that red that we used earlier. And this will just help it kind of blend a little bit, just slightly. The thing is because she's wearing a bodysuit, it's supposed to be really shiny. Now what you don't want to do is put a gloss coat on it. The whole reason you would do something like non-metallic metal, or the whole reason you would paint on highlights, is because you're trying to control the lighting. You're trying to control the look of it so that the highlights look right. Because when they're that small, light doesn't work as well as it should when it comes to casting shadows and actually adding highlights to it. Additionally, normally our game rooms are pretty dank, not always well lit, with some kind of like industry light or something like that. When you add gloss to a miniature, what it'll do is it'll make it shiny, right? It'll make the natural light in the room reflect on it, which means when you turn the mini, the light moves as well. Now, and you might think that that's more natural, but because the miniatures are such a small scale, it's just not going to look as good. I thought about still doing the gloss, but it ended up again wanting to do this comic book style a little bit more and just keep practicing on it. It's a different style than I normally do, and it's a lot of fun to change it up a little bit. So I'm putting some crazy highlights here with even more white. But I was careful I didn't want it to be like really pink, right? I mean, highlighting red can be kind of fun anyway, in the sense that if you add white, it just ends up being pink. You can add yellows and you can even add bright oranges into it to kind of help alleviate that, so it's just a brighter red, but I just went with the white and called it good. Okay, so Voidshield Blue, that's what I have now in the black gray. Heavily watered down. I eyeballed it. I didn't even, I just kept mixing it in my wet palette, so it's really hard to judge how much blue versus how much black. Make it to where you think it looks good. So I could have gone more blue, obviously. One of the ways to do that would have actually to get a darker blue and then, put this on here. Or alternatively, what you could do is paint it just like this and get the Drakkenhof Nightshade out. Paint over the highlight, and that will tint this light color much more blue. If you wanted it that super blue. I didn't. I still wanted it to be a black reflection. I just wanted that hint of blue, just a little bit. Just to kind of, give it something a little bit more unique than perhaps everybody else's Harley Quinn that might just be doing plain black and with gray highlights. And I think that kind of helps it a little bit more. And also, anytime you're adding blue next to red, it really makes it help pop a bit more, right? Because you got the cool colors and the warm colors. So I was pretty happy with how it went out. Again, just basic, like almost like you're painting in sections that should be highlighted. That's the comic book style I've been doing here for her. And we are almost done, guys. I mean, she's real quick. This was easy. This is a great first minute to do. It's just, you know, half and half. All right, so now we're finally getting that gun metal after the Nuln Oil highlighted with some shining silver. Again, just like I did with the Joker, and just like I'll do with probably most of the miniatures that have metal things like this. There's not actually a whole lot of guns, at least not on the good guy's side, but on the bad guy's side there are, so I'm going to keep doing some of those. And yeah, I'm highlighting those springs or whatever too. Ash Gray, this is the final color we're getting. It's, again, very, very little paint on your dry brush. Extremely little. You should have to dry brush this over and over and over and over again to really get it to stick, because it's very shallow in detail, so if you have a lot of paint, it's going to end up getting into the crevices, which is not what you want. So very light amount, and then just all around her. Alright, now finally, again, all the enemy miniatures need to have a gray rim to signify that they're gray. For people like Harley Quinn, it's actually kind of helpful. It means, hey, she's a bad guy, not one of the good guys. I mean, it's not, I mean, people know what the good guys are. But anyway, this is the final miniature. This is her after a matte varnish. So again, matte varnish, she is not actually reflecting really anything, a little bit on the gun, but otherwise, this is just all highlights. Definitely want to thank all of my patrons. You guys are awesome and make everything I do on this channel possible. Literally, without you, most of the content wouldn't be here on this channel, and I would not be as successful as I am doing it. So thank you so much for that. If you enjoyed the video, again, as always, give it a thumbs up. I always appreciate it. It's super helpful. Share it around with your friends if other people are painting Batman and you know that they might be interested in this Harley Quinn kind of tutorial style explanation of my reasoning for why I painted the way I did. That's always super helpful as well. Again, subscribe if you want to see a lot more Batman content, plus upcoming content like Joan of Arc is going to be here soon, and Mythic Battles Pantheon shipping soon, and there's just all sorts of stuff. I mean, I'm covering Bloodborne. It's crazy out there when it comes to miniature board games, and I'm really excited to cover all that for you guys. Alright, so anyway, I'm going to head out now. Have a good day. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you soon.